Hey sports fans, how's everyone doing? I'm Erica, welcome back to the Old Crew Code channel, and today I'm going to be reading another DocWalk Careers Advice article. This one is on navigating a bad work reference in super yachting, a guide to moving forward. There is actually a chapter on this in the Super Yacht Life book I've written. It is slightly different, and yeah, hopefully you'll find it useful. I also did a follow-up chapter towards the end in the mental health section about rebuilding yourself after a bad experience on a super yacht, which apparently people are finding quite helpful. So there you go. Let's crack on with it. So, bad references. We all know that in the competitive world of super yachting, good references from previous seniors and/or captains are crucial. They serve as a testament to your skills, professionalism, and your reliability. However, what happens when you receive a negative reference, or you don't get one at all? Whether it's due to misunderstandings, personal conflicts, or performance issues, a negative reference can be concerning. But fear not, as there are steps you can take to navigate this challenging situation and move forward with your career. It doesn't have to be the end of the world, or your yachting career. There's myriad reasons for why you might end up in this situation. The thing to remember is to be honest with future employers or agents as to why. Now, as a crew agent, I often come across jobs on candidate CVs where there's no reference, and it's usually for a pretty good reason. So here's a few examples I've been given in the past year. Instability. Several crew had issues with a high crew turnover and having several different captains and heads of departments in one season. Major safety concerns with no support from seniors or captains. Problems with management companies such as poor communications, decisions being overruled, and in some cases outright lies being told to owners. Late payment of salary, lack of contract, another crew member making unwanted advances on someone, and no support or backup from the seniors. Well, that one really gets me. The job was not what was advertised. For example, second officer was promised bridge time and instead it was basically a bosun's role. Major change of programme, i.e. busy charter turned out to be private with a liveaboard owner sitting at anchor. Honestly, I could go on and on. There's so many reasons to leave a yacht, and in cases like these, most crew leave without asking for a reference. It's becoming more prevalent in current times that it's not necessary to stay working in a toxic environment, and crew aren't expected to just tough it out for the sake of getting a full season or longer on their CV. If that's of interest to you, you should check out the article and the video I've done on longevity. Anyway, I digress. So how do we present this? Some crew wouldn't include the job on their CV, which is fine if you were there and gone in a matter of days. I'm always reminding people trial periods work both ways. It's not just them trialing you are trialing them and the job too. And if things aren't right, then it's perfectly acceptable to part ways during this period. But if you were on board for like a long time, then it does need to be on your CV. And when you're asked, why don't you have a reference, just explain why. So this is the bit that might require a little bit of skill. Explain why, yes, but do it diplomatically and professionally. You don't need to throw people under the bus, even if they totally deserve it. So for example, stewardess Anna left after her chief stew started an affair with the married captain. And then they told the crew that they had to cover for them and lie to the captain's wife, who often visited. I wish I was making this up. As if that weren't bad enough, the chief stew also got lazy and started bossing all the crew around because she now felt that she was in charge of the boat because she was sleeping with the captain. It's awkward, isn't it? So the stew left and clearly couldn't ask the captain or the chief stew for a reference, as they weren't happy she departed. So how do you explain this? She could say, well, the chief stew and captain started a relationship which changed the crew dynamic. Several of us left. That's all you need to say. Anyone who's worked in yachting for more than 5 minutes will understand. We read between the lines. Okay, another example, let's talk about deckhand Johnny. He left his boat as the captain and engineer kept drinking on duty and he didn't feel safe. How do you explain this one? Well, He says, there was some alcohol issues amongst the senior crew and I felt safety was compromised. And even if you feel that's too much, then you can say something like, I didn't feel safety was taken as seriously as it should be, so I raised it, nothing changed, so I felt it was best for me to move on and find a new program which suits my style of working better. See? You can always spin it positively without bad-mouthing anyone. You don't need to do that. So anyway, you get the idea. Now, there are other situations where crew leave and you're on good terms, but then they discover that their captain or head of department is giving them some bad press. This is a trickier one to navigate, but again, it doesn't have to mean it's the end of your career. This one might take a little bit of self-reflection, which I know not everyone's ready for. Are you ready? So before you take any dramatic action, like posting on Facebook groups about suing everyone, which I literally just saw yesterday, it's essential to understand the nature of the bad reference. So try to determine why it was given and whether there's any underlying issues that need addressing. Was it due to a misunderstanding? Was there a personality clash? Was there some genuine performance issues? Was there something you could have done differently? So from my point of view as an agent, if somebody says they're happy to give you a reference, tell you everything's fine, and then give negative feedback behind your back after telling you that, oh yeah, I'm more than happy to be a reference, that seems a little underhand to me. The referee should really say, no, don't put me down as a reference. I don't feel comfortable with that. Own it. Referees, if you don't want to give someone a reference, just tell them, I don't want to give you a reference. Don't put me down. Problem solved. Now, as an agent, a long-standing agent of nearly 20 years, I would not disclose to a crew member if someone has given me negative feedback on their performance, because that's a severe breach of trust and confidentiality and demonstrates extremely questionable ethics, in my opinion. That's not how I operate. However, I do have enough experience in this industry, as I said, like 2 decades, like many industry seniors, agents, managers, and other professionals, to know that one bad reference isn't the end of someone's career. So have a think about it, right? Did something happen which affected your performance? Did you misbehave? Did you mess up? If you didn't do a particularly good job, then perhaps that reference isn't malicious. Maybe it's just an honest reflection of you at that time in your life. Maybe you had other things going on. Maybe you'd experienced some drama on board. Maybe it had been in your personal life. And maybe your eye just wasn't on the ball and your performance just wasn't up to your usual standards. Sometimes our heads just aren't in the game. And I think if you can acknowledge that, then you can learn from it and move on. So as an example, here's mate Alistair, whose girlfriend broke up with him halfway through the season. Looking back, he realises how much that affected him. And he said, I guess I was so wrapped up in feeling sorry for myself, I didn't realise the impact my misery had on everyone else in the crew. I was not easy to work with. When I resigned at the end of the summer, the captain did seem happy to see me go. Afterwards, I heard when people phoned him for a reference, he said, I started the season strong, but after getting dumped, I was a nightmare for the rest of them and they were treading on eggshells. Apparently, even the boss commented. At first, I was furious, but then when I look back, well, I'm mortified. This was a couple of years ago, and the captain and I, we now have a laugh about it. So the thing is, if someone calls up your reference and asks about you, they can't lie, can they? Because it's not just about you, it's about them too. That's their reputation on the line. But like Alistair, consider reaching out to the person if you hear that they're providing negative references for you, and ask for constructive feedback. Don't get mad, just politely inquire about the specific concerns they had and express your willingness to address them. Approach the conversation with an open mind and a genuine desire to learn from that experience. Understanding their perspective can provide some valuable insights into areas where you can improve yourself. If there are legitimate concerns raised in the reference, then take some proactive steps to address them. This might involve seeking additional training or certifications, improving your communication skills or other soft skills, or addressing any other performance-related issues. By demonstrating your commitment to self-improvement, this can go a long way in mitigating the impact of that one bad reference. Now, one negative reference doesn't have to define your entire career. So you can gather all your other positive references from your other employers, colleagues, industry professionals who can attest to your skills and professionalism. Having a diverse range of references can help counterbalance the impact of that one that isn't as good as the others. When I say bad reference, I'm not going, oh, it's terrible, something that is just not as good as the others, okay? So when applying for new positions, be upfront about that reference or that time on board when you're asked. I find that honesty is key in maintaining credibility and trustworthiness, especially in this industry. Explain the situation candidly and acknowledge any mistakes you may have made, but also highlight the steps you've taken to address them and improve. Now, I do give a fantastic example of this in the book, Super Yacht Life, regarding a chief stew I know. And there's a couple of other examples in there that people might find helpful for some real life experiences. But yeah, if you're not really sure how to spin it, talk to a trusted person in the industry, like a mentor, a former captain or head of department, or someone like me. We're here to help. Now, networking is crucial in the super yacht industry, so use your connections to find new opportunities. Like Alistair, who's now on good terms with his old captain after accepting it wasn't his finest hour. You never know when these contacts will come good and recommend you. In addition, attend your industry events, join your professional associations, just make yourself better and engage with fellow professionals like online and offline, build strong relationships, because those relationships can open doors to new opportunities and help you grow and maintain that good reputation. We all have bumps in the road, okay? We all have a bad day, week, month, season. So learning you've received a bad work references can be disheartening, but don't let it deter you from pursuing your goals. Stay positive, focus on your strengths, and remain persistent and consistent in your job search. So, with your determination and your perseverance, you can overcome this setback and you can continue to thrive in the industry. To sum up, although a less than glowing reference can be challenging, it's not the end of the road. By assessing the situation, seeking feedback, addressing the concerns, providing counter references, being transparent, networking effectively, you can navigate past this obstacle and you can actually emerge stronger on the other side. I like to think that every opportunity is a learning opportunity. So demonstrate that to people, demonstrate that you've learned, you've taken steps to self-improve, stay focused on your goals, stay resilient, and remember that setbacks are just temporary hurdles on the path to success. Thank you for coming to my Erica talk today. Hope you enjoyed that one. But yeah, as always, give me a like, give me a subscribe, share me. Go on, I love it. And drop me some comments. Tell me your thoughts. I'd love to hear them as always. All right, and have a good day. Look after each other out there. Love you, bye.